howdy, everybody. How are y'all doing? I hope y'all are well on this fine Thursday afternoon. Background music. What? All right, got that. And I am good to go. But yes, howdy everybody. I hope y'all are doing well this Thursday. I know it's been a while since y'all have last seen me. Ooh, was it last Saturday, I believe? Cause Senpai and I went on a trip this past Monday, Tuesday. Went back down to the States to visit a national park. We had a really great time, but that obviously meant that we couldn't stream on Monday night doing our Guild Wars. But we're back. We're back at it again. Oh, model, you doing good? Yes? Cool. But yeah, we back at it. We back at it. And it's been a hot second since we had a therapy Thursday, because the last one ooh, yawny. I wasn't feeling too hot. But I know y'all were looking forward to this subject, so I put it off so everyone could enjoy and participate. I have, oh gosh. I kind of went hard at the beginning, with like the research papers, and like annotating. It's a lot. It's a lot I don't even know if we're gonna get to. Alrighty. Move that, move that. Test. Can you guys see my mouse? I think that's the first time it's ever actually happened. Whoa. That's crazy. Don't know why. I don't know how it got there. Oop. I did boop my avatar. Oh, now you can't see it. Weird. Oh, if I click into it, you can see it. Odd. Oh well. Oh, I'm not angry, I'm yawning. But how are y'all doing? How's y'all's morning, afternoons, evenings treating y'all? Y'all been up to anything fun since we last talked? Since we last chitta-chatted? Figuring out what I want to do in life is going well enough. Oh! Oh, my neck. Do you mean like career-wise, or do you just mean in general? Or do you mean contemplating the meaning of existence? Because all of those are moods. Yeah, I feel that. Things are really tough lately, and career-wise. Well, if you had unlimited resources, what would you like to do? Obviously, I would like to be a therapist if I had unlimited time and resources. Fun. Learn? What would you like to learn? Or do you like a specific subject that you're interested in? Or is it just the prospects of learning? Because you could always just go into academia. And even if it's not your job, yeah, don't worry, just ignore them. Even if it's not your job, philosophy. Philosophy is very fascinating. But what I was going to say is, even if it's not your job, that doesn't mean you have to stop learning. Yeah, no, academic jobs are very difficult to get. But, you know, once you stop going to school, that doesn't mean you can't keep educating yourself. That you can't, you know, study philosophy or learn about it in your free time. I mean, I know, like, the OG old books are pretty heavy reads. But I think you'd hate the I could publish and perish and all. That is fair enough. If you're just interested in, like, advancing yourself, you know, and your knowledge, I would say there are plenty of resources. I mean, the internet being the best one of them. You can find videos on end, video essays to last you a lifetime on philosophy. Whew. Gosh, yawn. You learn. Yeah, I mean, the internet is an amazing tool for us to learn anything. Sometimes I feel like I learn better and more things on the internet than I did in school. But I also have a ridiculous repository of useless meme information that probably isn't the most helpful. Ah. Well, yeah, we all have. Just learning anything point blank is difficult. Of course, if we're interested in something, we're more likely to learn it. And then there's like the issue like, oh, well, are we learning it correctly from whatever? Honestly, just replace school with, I don't know about that. But I think we could definitely have some internet supplementaries. Yeah, I think that's the word I'm looking for. Learn about how the internet itself works. Yeah, I mean, the internet is pretty awesome. It's complicated as all hell. But, I mean, if you think about it, we have all of the knowledge of human history at our fingertips. I mean, it's a lot easier when you have someone teach it. Lord knows I know that. I could not, like, look at math equations and try and teach that to myself. God. Yeah. Not the best pay. But I would say most teachers aren't in it for the money, though obviously it's mainly a desire to teach, like, and work with kids. Is, from my experience, is usually the driving force of wanting to be a teacher. Now, we don't know that for sure yet. But I think the support you get from yeah. I think the important thing is that, you know, wherever your job or your career takes you, it doesn't mean that you can't still pursue things that you're passionate about or interested in. Not everyone gets to have their dream career, you know? Lord knows I might not get it. Because, God, that would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 5 more years if I went to school immediately before I could ever actually be a therapist. And a shit ton of money. They're amateurs. Yeah. You can accomplish a lot of things being self-taught. And don't let anyone talk down to you for being self-taught. That in and of itself is accomplishment. But you know, if you enjoy learning, learning can be a hobby. I know that when I'm doing, I don't know, I'm just like playing around on a video game that maybe doesn't require too much attention or isn't dialogue heavy, I put up like a history video, like a video essay about, you know, like fucking the intricacies of Roman bathhouses or something. Because I just find history fascinating. And sure, I'm never going to probably use that information on how Roman bathhouses worked. But I found it enjoyable, and that's what matters. You taught yourself math? I don't know how you do that. Math is too complicated. Someone teaches it to me and I still don't get it. Do it out on the board and I'm like, I'm sorry, where did you get these numbers? But I'm just bad at math. So, that might just be me. Are you bad? Oh, I forgot my keys. Using books and online software. Are you bad at math or just haven't had... I don't know. Starting from elementary school going up, I've always just not been good at it. And absorb them. Yeah, no, just osmosis. You hold your head next to the textbook and you just absorb it. Yeah, I was using my arrow keys, and one of my arrow keys is the blush. I wish osmosis was real. Learning wise, I know it's a real, like, cellular thing, but I don't want to become math. Look, man, math is, I don't know. I liked English because I talk a lot, and in English, if you bullshit it well enough, any answer can be correct. And that's what that's what I liked. You know? If I just extrapolate every tiny detail enough, I can make it match what I need. What about in Russian? I don't know Russian for anything. Whoa, mouth. You chill? Yes, math is used for making things easier, but it's so hard. Kind of like, yeah. Math has like a basis in everything. And I hate it. I hated my statistics course for my psych major. Yeah, I don't think why. I mean, I don't know. But Lord knows I don't know why or how math works. Language and literature. It just seems... I meant English as in, like, you know, English literature. For my language course in elementary school, I took Spanish. And then my first year in high school, I was a mega weeb and took Japanese. And then I was like, wow, Japanese is really fucking hard. And so then I took 2 years of Latin, which I thought was going to be useful, but it wasn't. It's a dead language for a reason. I mean, hey, in college the ancient Egyptian history is totally a course. I took ancient Japanese history for one of my history courses. One of my psych course, not my psych, I took a philosophy course on understanding life and love. That's what the entire thing was dedicated to. I mean, there were two languages, Russian and... Oh! No, we just often call it, I mean, at least in my school, we just called it English. Though I guess you could call it like a lit course. Because we learned all of the stupid, you know, grammar rules, and it's where we had to write essays. Face, why you being sad? I ain't sad. Stop it. Stop it. You rushing yourself? Yeah. It sucks. Everyone else kind of in the world is starting to have to like learn English. But here in the States, they're just like, no. Understanding life and love sounds like a... Well, yeah, it was a philosophy course. So we looked at what is life? What is the meaning of life? What is life about? What is love about? Through different philosophical lenses. You know? And that's what it was about. Philosophy is just about speculating. Seeing the world in different ways. Mainly reading literature in the original. Yes, that would be very... Last years of schools were hell. Sometimes, yeah, a lot of meaning can be lost in translation. But I feel that, Flower. Senior year is never fun. Senior year is never fun. I mean, like, you get to do, like, fun graduation stuff. Alright, body, stop it. Your English is, well, you're damn well good at it. Better than anything I ever could do in any other language. Body, can you stop? Like, I don't know what you're trying to do with your neck, but okay, there we go. I'm always amazed by how people just teach themselves English. People are like, oh yeah, I'm from Spain and I'm self-taught. And I'm like, I went through 12 years of English and sometimes I still don't understand it. Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon. Good stuff, good stuff. Okay, why am I still angry? I'm gonna go turn on another light. Hopefully it'll stop making me angry. I'm assuming because the lighting isn't the best. Well, hey, the lighting isn't the best. My avatar is not following my body very well now. Okay, cool. Yeah, Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network definitely ain't what they used to be. So I switched for fun? Nice. There, are we doing better, Body? Yeah, I think so. You like the new lights? Ah, youngin'. Was Adventure Time Nickelodeon? No, that was Cartoon Network. Cause like Adventure Time was really good. You just became 20. Happy birthday! Happy late birthday! Welcome to adulting! Congratulations! Seriously, happy birthday! Alrighty. Got a new hard drive. Nice. I'll get a real computer someday. But for now, my laptop is the slave that I try and stream on. Now installing hundreds of games. You know what? Fair. Fair and understandable. You use a laptop too. I know when I upgraded to like a gaming PC, gaming laptop from just like a school laptop, I immediately went and downloaded a bunch of games off of my Steam. You pick live. Nope. Okay. I've talked about it with my brother, and I can't remember if this is a fever dream, but there was a Nickelodeon show that was like Aztec themed, and it was like an obstacle course, and it had puzzles, and like the teams were always like a color and then like an animal, and I have these very vague memories that I'm yes Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yes. For the longest time, I thought that was just a fever dream. That is the one Nickelodeon show I remember very, very well for some reason. But I remember watching a lot of that for some reason. Oh, good times. Danny Phantom was Nickelodeon, right? I think so. I love that. I don't know why. I have a younger brother. My first cartoon crush. I would say it depends on how you define cartoon. Because once I started getting to the age of being able to crush, that's when I got into anime. So, like, my first, like, crush on a fictional character would be Kakashi from Naruto. Ah, Ren and Stimpy, I remember that. Oh, back in the day. What about y'all? What was y'all's first, fictional crush? Kakashi was the OG husbando. And thankfully they never did him dirty by the end. I appreciate that. Can't remember? Fair. It's been so long. From Lego Cartoon. Hey! It's just as much of a fictional character as, like, any other. Plus, more often we become... Stop with the sadness face. Thank you. We become an... Face. Face. Come on. Let's not do this. Alright? Move the camera. We good? We good? We Gucci? Okay. Let's try. What I was saying is that we often become enamored with their personality rather than just their physical looks. Mona from WarioWare. I've never actually played WarioWare. I played a decent amount of the Mario games, but I was always more of a Zelda. All of the sad faces. Exactly. Really, just being a decent person is enough to be like, you know, wow, I really like that person. You know, he's a good person. He cares about other people, and that's what enamors us to them. And being a demigod is just cool. Who wouldn't want to be a demigod? And we always love our boys with emotional issues. It just be that way. Oh my gosh, it's already been like almost 40 minutes and we still haven't actually talked about the subject. Ex-villains, yes. Villains turned good. I love that stuff. It's easier to get emotionally involved with fictional characters because you're always watching them. That sounds semi-terrifying, but it is true. Dang, son! Yeah, I know! You have limited access. Yes, you can't constantly follow them. You also don't see that they're like inner monologue like we can with some characters. I feel like being able to be a part of that inner dialogue is really important in understanding, like, creating that connection to the character. Well, you might have just been, you know, not necessarily... Yeah, that is what makes real life interesting, though. Well, and Flower, you were still trying to figure everything out. You can have crushes and kind of be, like, enamored, being like, oh, wow, you know, that person's pretty cool. I kind of like them. But not be, like, romantically interested in them. Yeah, you got to get to know people. You can't just sit there spamming A and read through all of their dialogue really quickly. Because waltzing is, like, cool. It's sophisticated. It's, you know, like, dancing with someone is like a scene in popular media that denotes a very strong, like, emotional connection. Usually romance, but you can still have, like, a dance between two people and have it be emotionally impactful without it being romantic. Or you maybe used him as a way to imagine yourself within a romantic relationship, and he helped you kind of realize that that's not something that you're really into. Who knows? The wonders of psychology. Excuse me. Yeah, we... Oh, geez. We usually develop a type. Yeah, no, it definitely can. And even if fictional characters do have major flaws like real-world people, like, people love Dexter and he's a serial killer. Literally. And we're just like, oh, he's just a misunderstood babby. You don't get him. But, like, if he was in real life, that would be fucking terrifying. But that's because we know about all of his struggles that he went through. We were there with him. We develop a bond. Snakes are cool. Yeah. A lot of things that we like in fiction would not translate well to real life. Okay. Let's jackknife into the actual, what's supposed to be the topic of today. Oh, excuse me. Gosh, why am I so... Ugh, today. Brass tacks people. You just said words and I don't know what they mean. But I will nod yes. Now, we can go about this, I suppose, 3 ways. We can, 1, just keep talking about whatever. 2, I can grab you guys by the eyeballs and just dive straight into research papers. Or 3, y'all can bring up any experiences or any questions that you might have, and I will attempt to answer them and explain, like, the reasoning and the research behind it, and then maybe even, like, go show you certain parts of the research and whatever. It's however y'all would like to go about it. Will it be? Yes, all of my Therapy Thursdays are saved on my channel and uploaded onto my YouTube channel. Literally the only thing that ever gets uploaded onto my YouTube channel at this point. Oh, hey, it's my mouse again. Hi. But yes, I always save Therapy Thursdays. The last 2 as well? The last 2... I believe so. I believe they should be up. Are they not? I'll have to go double check. Okay. Okay, well, that... So why do we have why do we have prejudice is literally the question behind the thousands of research paper. I meant, like, more a specific question. Like, is it possible to destroy all prejudice in myself? No, it is not. There are parts of, the human mind that prejudice stem from that is called, like, grouping. We automatically group not only people, but things subconsciously in order to be able to better comprehend them. That's where stereotypes come from. It's easier for our brain to kind of process everything if we're like, okay, you know, apples are red, oranges are orange, bananas are yellow. There are obviously exceptions to all of those. There are green apples. There are, I don't know if there are other color oranges. I know there are red bananas. Bananas can be green. But thinking about all of the exceptions is too difficult for our brain to handle at once. We do this so that way we can easily go through life and understand concepts. And so while we can get rid of, you know, prejudice and biases that we are consciously aware of, there will always be subconscious biases that we unknowingly create that we don't realize affect us. But not necessarily all biases are necessarily bad. You can have good biases. But there's no way to fully get rid of it. It's just a part of the, it's just a part of how our brain functions, categorizing things in order to be able to better store them. It's like that, the metaphor with, you know, our brain likes for everything to fit neatly into, you know, a box. That's like a stigma. And we don't really like it when things we aren't easily able to categorize everything. And so then when we're unable to do that, it kind of creates an inherent subconscious dislike, being like, well, why won't you fit into my box? Fit into my box. But the important thing is, we might have that initial reaction and that kind of thought process. However, we are always in control of our actions. So while we might not always be able to get rid of the internal biases, we can work towards making sure none of those biases affect the way that we act or treat people. How do you deal with prejudice that has developed towards other people? Do you mean, how do you deal with, like, other people being prejudiced to other people, or your own? How do you deal with, like, you being prejudiced towards other people? Because those are two different solutions, I suppose. Internal feelings of prejudice. I suppose the first way would be to try and understand, where does the root of this prejudice come from? So, paper number uno. Okay, so, I don't know if you guys would be interested. Maybe later. I don't know if you want to. I did a lot on this poor research paper. There's a lot of annotations and a lot of highlighting. So, boop, 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 boop. Where is that part that I marked? So, some of the major aspects of prejudice come from when there is a disagreement between four categories that prejudice can be kind of broken down into. Where? There it is. So, prejudice can often stem from a difference in the values between the in-group and out-group. In-group is the group that you are a part of, you know, part of how you identify yourself, how you see yourself socially in the world around you. An easy example would be an in-group would be white, and an out-group would be non-white, because you define yourself as part of being within the white group. So when there's a disparity between values of groups, that can lead to prejudice. Values are important to people. And group, no, in, like I-N. Values are very important to not only social groups, but to individuals. Values guide our attitudes, and reflect a wide range of behavior. So, it's important to understand if there's some sort of, like, cultural value difference. Especially because for some people, values is more closely related to, like, morals, while others are, like, a choice. So, an example would be, like, the value of tradition is very prominent in religious groups. You know? Doing it the way that the Bible did it, and all of that. So, that is a very strong and important value to that in-group. And so someone with that in-group is more likely to develop prejudice against someone who doesn't follow that value, who doesn't care about tradition, who's like, you know what, tradition's not important, because that value is important to them and is not important to the other person. And that creates conflict. And conflict is one of the major driving forces of prejudice. Yes. So, this also kind of goes into group prejudice, but the more another group does not uphold an important value, like tradition, the more likely it is to be a target for prejudice, and for it to feel legitimate. And howdy, Cheyenne. I hope you are doing well. Like, an example is, in Western culture, a strong work ethic is seen as an important value. You know, the hard working, you know, worker. I mean, it's a lot more with, like, the older generation, but, you know, like, you gotta put in your elbow grease, you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you gotta get to work. Do some hard-earned, back-breaking, sweating work. Kind of ideal. You're having a mango with your oatmeal. I am jealous. I love mangoes. And that's, but that ideal of being I don't have hands, but I'm using air quotes, a hard worker is part of, you know, this Western kind of, and by Western I mean more like North American, England, value system. And so that's seen as, you know, being important. As opposed to, and so by I can speak words. Okay. Come on, Belle. Organize your thoughts. If you have a group, like, we'll just use America, for example, where hard work and effort is a core value of that society, and then you introduce them to people who live in Spain, who, or like Mexico, or, you know, cultures that have and utilize siestas within the midday, which are, you know, like a break, which, you know, psychologically makes the most sense because it helps boost productivity, but that doesn't matter. The people from America are more likely to view them with prejudice as lazy and not working hard enough, because the way that they act and the way that they function in their social group goes against the values that the American social group utilizes. This is a common thing when it comes to like white people when they look at African Americans or Latinos, Latinas, Hispanic, is that they may feel more hostile because they feel like they're not working hard enough. And working hard is a core, is a core value that they subscribe to. So having different values can be a place that prejudice stems from that you don't even realize, if that makes sense. Does the mere existence of a different value create an existential threat to their belief system? Not necessarily. It depends on what that value is. If it's a core value of their belief system, then yes, they do pose an existential threat. An example is religion, you know, marriages between a man and a woman. The fact that people are gay poses and doesn't follow their value of man and woman is an existential threat to them. But if you look at a group that's, you know, Flower was talking about the USSR. If you're looking at, you know, like the in-groups of people who support capitalism versus communism, a marriage between a man and a woman is not likely to be one of the core values, because that's not what the in-group is about. Now, it gets complicated because a lot of groups are linked to one another. But the main thing is it depends on what the value is. The closer that value is to being a core value of that group, the more of a threat people not agreeing or, you know, going along with that value, the more of a threat it poses a perceived threat that it poses. Is it just perceived, though? Ah. Where is that? Okay, so this is oh, hi Kukushi. How you doing? Yeah, happy Thursday. Hope your Thursday's going well. So, we're talking about an intergroup threat, a threat that's posed to an in-group. So, there are 3 types of threats. But it's important to know that what is assumed to be an actual threat may not actually be a real threat, but simply a perceived threat. So the 3 types are a realistic threat, where they are a threat to their physical safety, their physical security, and their physical health. A symbolic threat, which is a threat to, like, their culture, their history, their way of life, and an economic threat. So, and these kind of threats can co-mingle with each other. The example that the paper provides is in Britain. There's a lot of threat from like Far East tiger economies, but it may be, which would be an economic threat. However, it may be that people are more concerned about that economic threat from immigration. So because there's no reason. Hey, face, come on. Come on. So this comes in a lot when people talk about like you know, like the Chinese economy, and, you know, worrying about their economic impact on, you know, Western countries. But if you think about it logically, there's no reason to assume that these people have a clear grasp of, like, macroeconomics. And they are much more likely to focus on tangible, simple, and immediate factors, which would be the threat of the economic threat of immigration. And the threat of immigration is a symbolic threat. So, under the guise of an economic threat, people perform... Music? Hello? Hello? Music? Why'd you stop? Thank you. Yeah, music just stops ominously. Yancha Gogo, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing? I feel honored that you would follow little old me. Welcome, welcome. But the point is that threats can be multifaceted. They can be depicted as, you know, a realistic threat, but what at the core, what they're actually afraid of is a symbolic threat. Do not perceive? I will not. Thank you so much for coming. I think this is something very often that we run into. When people say that, you know, like, oh, like an example is, you know, when men didn't want women to go into the workforce, right? Many men claim that it was an economic threat. Well, women are they're gonna take all of our jobs. And then what about us? How are we gonna make money? How are we gonna get money for our families? So blah, 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 blah. But that wasn't the real thing that they were afraid of. The threat was a symbolic one to the working culture of man, of having a woman in the workplace would be so detrimental, or God forbid, having a woman in charge would be a symbolic threat to, you know, the patriarchy. So threats can be disguised as other kinds of threats. And the only way you really know is you have to talk to them. You have to try and figure out and get to the bottom is what are you really afraid of? You know? Another example is, again, is from England, because the paper takes a lot of things from England, is that when it comes to like immigration and work in England, there's a lot of prejudice against Asian immigration and working, you know, because there's an active quote unquote competition with Eastern economies. And so when people of Asian descent come and work as temporary workers or even just move to England, they are viewed as more of a threat as opposed to Polish workers. People from Poland who work as temporary workers or migrate to England to work aren't as viewed as much of a threat, even though they're both just going there to work. Because the people of Asian descent are viewed as more of a threat to, you know, their culture or their supposed safety, when really both of them just pose an economic threat, but one has an increased prejudice. So it depends on the mixture of threats that cause people to maybe feel ambivalent about, you know, Polish people coming, but to be against people from Asia coming, or to behave inconsistently towards two groups. These are both just other people who are migrating to a country to work. Theoretically, the country of origin isn't what should matter, right? If you have a problem with people immigrating to England to work because they're taking your jobs or whatever, then you should protest just as much to the Polish workers as you do like someone from China. But that's not how it works, because there's a mixture of threats. They're both economic by coming and taking our jobs, but the people who come from Asia are also viewed as a cultural and a symbolic threat. And so that changes how people view them and how much animosity and prejudice they project onto those people. But they're always going to make excuses why they feel the way they do, and a lot of it stems from deep insecurities. But yeah, a lot of it also comes from society and culture. They took our jobs. Yeah, there's been constant examples of this. Especially in American history because of how much immigration there has. I don't know about... Oh, excuse me. I guess it's more of an obvious difference. I get stopped at a Walmart by greeters because I have a non-standard cart. Yeah, things that stand out are more likely to receive prejudice. That's the effect of group size. But yeah, people notice things that are different. You know, we talked about how everyone likes things to go neatly into our box. And the moment they see something that doesn't fit into our box, they're like, yo, what the fuck? Why don't you fit in my box? Bro, I have this box full of things and you are not fitting into it. Wait, stop being angry, please. Doesn't have to do with the process of globalization, creating a world that is not Anglo-Saxon dominating, leading to white nationalism. I definitely think that is a contributing factor. That globalization is interlinking countries, societies, and cultures that have been at odds with each other for a very long time and that don't always mesh well together. But I also think it's more of, well, I think that plays an aspect of it, is the fear of losing power. You know, white people have been in power for so long that any perceived threat to that power, even if it's just, wow, let's treat people like human beings, is viewed as a loss of power. With climate change, there's going to be a lot more migration and they need to get over it, or else bad things will happen. Yeah. Well, as part of understanding bigotry and prejudice, it's understandable why people react that way. This way of categorizing, this stereotyping, this boxing, it's called creating a stigma, a mental stigma. It was used to protect us. It's what allowed us to survive. You know, we are like, okay, red berry. We can eat red berry. Red berry, red berry, red berry. Blueberry. I don't know if I can eat this. This might be poisonous. We instinctually react with suspicion because it's not something that we're used to. And as we were evolving, this was a protective measure. Unfamiliar things were more likely to get us killed. If we knew that, okay, you know, I can eat XYZ food, and then we see a food that doesn't fit into that category, we're immediately suspicious, and we're like, well, can I eat this? Will this be poisonous? Or in the same aspect of predators, you know, we know that tiger lives in high trees, I don't know where tigers actually live. High trees, cave, bush. And then we get to, what is another a lake, I guess, because this would make sense. We're immediately suspicious because we don't know where this fits in our categories of ultimately safe and not safe. Exactly, it's evolutionary psychology. Yeah, cave probably would have maybe been more helpful than just a lake. But a lot of this stems from, is this safe or is this not safe? That's where ultimately all of this stereotyping, boxing, stigma creating, that's where us categorizing things mentally began. Because that's what helped us stay alive, you know? oh, I know if I go here and I go here, I'm not attacked by giant tiger. And I know if I go here and here, I am attacked by giant tiger. That is helpful. That is helpful for your survival and the propagation as a species. And as we continue to evolve, we got more and more complex in the way that we categorized things. But it is an innate and often automatic process that happens within our brain of creating a prejudice. That's why you probably have heard why people say first impressions are so important. Because people make an immediate assumption and bias about who you are when they first meet you. And it's very hard to, like, if you make a bad first impression, to make up for that. And that's because of our evolutionary way of thinking of, okay, so maybe you were having a shitty day. You know, your ice cream cone fell, you stubbed your toe on the door, and you're just not in a good mood, right? That's understandable. But you have a job interview and you're kind of an asshole. The job interview person is just going to think you're an asshole. They don't know that you had a rough day. And it's going to take a lot of work and effort to be like, no, I'm not normally like that. I was just having a bad day. Because that's how our brains work. Even when we try and work against it, we automatically and subconsciously make these assumptions and biases towards people when we first meet them without even knowing. Okay. I haven't seen Giant Tiger's Supermarket. Ah, yes, the work of H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah, so the hardware is good, but the use is bad. Yeah, no, I'm glad you... H.P. Lovecraft, tapped into the most primal fear humans have. It's not death. It's not pain. It's not suffering. It is the unknown. There is nothing that we as humans are more afraid of than the unknown. Why are we afraid of death? Because we don't know what happens after it. Why are we afraid of suffering? Because we don't know when it's going to get better. Why are we afraid of pain? Because we don't know how we're going to react to it. We don't know how much it's going to hurt. The unknown is the basis of all human fear. And that is the same for when it comes to people. Ultimately, other cultures, other people, other ideas are all unknown. People like to know what is going to happen. That is why humans often don't really like change. Because change means the unknown. And again, this goes back to evolutionary. The unknown was a risk that could ultimately end our lives. And so we grew to be wary of it. However, we don't need that anymore. It is not helpful. In actuality, overcoming our fear of the unknown has led to some of the greatest inventions of all time. Mainly, I'm thinking of space, but also of the exploration of the deep sea. The unknown is something that we no longer need to view as a life-altering threat, but we can view it as a challenge to learn more. You know? We've passed the point in our evolutionary cycle where we need to be afraid of everything. Now, I'm not saying that we just blindly start stepping forward, let's smash nuclear atoms together, obviously. if there's a physical danger, but we can't let the unknown cripple us as much as it has been. Because ultimately, that's what it all comes down to. I don't like gays because they're different, and I don't understand them. And they're an unknown. I don't like black people because they're different. I don't understand them, and they are unknown to me. This is where a lot of our fears and prejudice start taking form in. Okay, I know I just went on an entire tirade. Okay, hold on, let me catch up with chat. But, yeah, just because H.P. Lovecraft was a dickhead also doesn't mean his contribution to literature wasn't, good. Usually, yes, just fake it till I make it if I'm not in a good place. Don't people pick up on that, though, and you end up looking suspicious? Well, it depends. If this is your first time meeting a person, ideally they wouldn't know what you faking it looks like. Unless you're, like, really bad at it. I often feel afraid or wary of people who remind me of people from my past who caused me harm or suffering. I always have to consciously remind myself that they're not the same person and to treat them kindly instead. And... oh, Dark Hunter, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the rodeo. That is a very also common reaction, to be wary of people who hurt you in the past. Again, I hate constantly going back to evolutionary psychology, but with our giant tiger, big cat hurt me. Then you go to the desert and you see a lion, you're gonna be suspicious of that lion because it's a big cat and it looks a lot like the big cat that hurt you before. But again, we've evolved past that. And people are a lot more complicated. But it's understandable that we have kind of these, not necessarily triggers, but we have these events that affect us and how we view people. And depending on how much that, person before, how much damage they caused, how much they hurt you, is more likely that you're going to have a stronger reaction to someone who reminds you of them. And that's not something to be ashamed of. It's just your brain trying to look out for you, just trying to protect you. But that doesn't mean you can be an asshole to them. So it's good that you try and consciously remind yourself that, hey, this is not the same person. You recognize your feelings. Like, I'm feeling really anxious and hesitant of this person because they remind me of someone else that hurt me, and that is valid. But they aren't that person, so I need to treat them with respect and kindness. That is valid. There are known knowns, things we know we... oh god, okay. I can do this. There are known knowns, things we know, but there are known unknowns, things we know that we don't know, but there are also unknown unknowns, things that we don't know. Okay. Okay, I can do this. There are known knowns, things that we know that we know. We know that 2 + 2 = 2. So that is a known known. Okay. But there are known unknowns, things that we know that we don't know. Which is like, we know that we don't know what the very bottom of the ocean looks like. That's a known unknown. Okay. But there are also unknown unknowns, things that we don't know that we don't know. Which I guess would be like back in like the 17th century, we didn't know that atoms existed and that, like molecular, cellular, whatevers, were a thing. So that was an unknown unknown, something we didn't even know could exist. I think I got that. People already smashing? Please don't smash atoms. or do so in a controlled environment where you know we're not going to explode. Or I don't like the gays because my religion told me not to. Yes, that too. But that is because often, I mean, and that's the entire reason, sorry, thirsty, religion exists, is to make the unknown less scary. It is meant to fill in our gaps of knowledge. And so, so be open to the unknown and use healthy caution. Exactly, healthy caution. People to good examples of diversity is important for everyone. Yes, exposing people to diversity is very important. The more two groups coexist and interact with each other, the less likely they are to engage in prejudice acts against each other. Humans are sus. What to do with a person that hurt you in the past, but a lot of time has passed? So, that is up to you. If you have someone who has hurt you in the past, but a lot of time has gone by, I would say first and foremost, have they changed? Do you know? Are they behaving differently? Have they made amends with you? So on and so forth. But you are under no obligation to, you know, be around them or to be friends with them or to do anything. I would say the ultimate question is holding on to like the negative feelings that you have for this person hurting you more than it is helping you? Because ultimately, the real thing that matters is you don't need to forgive that other person for them, but you need to forgive yourself in order to fully process it and let go. Oh my god, so many things. Okay. So, how do we know what's right? Is prejudice ever justified? What criteria makes it justified? We don't. We don't know what's right. I mean, if you think about it in like a scientific sense, I'm pretty sure in the world there's no such thing as objective right and objective wrong. We just have, it is our morals and our values that help us decide what we believe is right and what is wrong. And as for, is the prejudice ever justified? What criteria makes it justified? I don't know. I would say that one group could justify a type of, could engage in a type of prejudice and say it's justified, and another could say that it's not. There's no sense of objectivity. This is morals. It's ethics. You know, I'm trying to think of so let's say, what's a good example? Okay, here's an example. From personal life. Senpai is afraid of dogs. Senpai has a prejudice against dogs. Because every time he has interacted with a dog in his past, it has been a negative interaction. Based off of his experience, is that prejudice justified? Well, what does justified mean? Does it mean you mean right? is justified understandable, because I can understand why he comes to that conclusion. But ultimately, at the end of this day, I would say his prejudice against dogs is not justified. But to him, it is. Why? Because they've only ever hurt him before. So I understand why that prejudice exists. I understand where it came from and why he has it. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's justified. But someone else could just turn around and say, no, of course it's totally justified. He's only ever had negative experiences with them. Why wouldn't he be wary of them? Justification is subjective. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Oh, wow. Hi, model. Yes, for Flower, how old they were as well. While ultimately that doesn't excuse it. The younger that you are, the less likely you are to know better, and the more room you have to change and grow as a person. Diversity is good. Tokenism is the guise of diversity. In the guise of... Yes. Okay. I recently learned something that fascinated me. Kind of unrelated, though. I mean, yes, I suppose math is objective. But I mean, when I mean that nothing is objective, I mean in the terms of morality and ethics. At least from a scientific or kind of point of view. In religion, there is such a thing as objective, like morals, which are the things that, you know, your religion subscribes to. Also, Christians, we have external rivals. We need soldiers. We need babies. Gays don't reproduce. Gays bad. I don't know. I think Christianity is past the point of needing literal soldiers. The only thing that is closest to objective good is looking at this as benefit me versus is this detrimental to me to me long term. I don't know, because sometimes something that we think is bad for us can actually be good for us. Adversity can be good. Adversity can sometimes make us stronger. Sometimes we need to face adversity. So we would objectively view it as bad, but it might actually turn out to be a positive experience. Not high-level PhD math. There's some... Oh, God. Math gets stretch. I recently learned that geniuses aren't always geniuses simply because they have a natural... The vast majority of cases, they became geniuses because they worked their asses off. Yes! Many geniuses start off with a natural knack for a subject, become enamored with that subject, and then work their ass off like crazy in that subject, and then become a genius in it. Aren't ethics objective because they have axioms? I don't know. I mean, I would say that just because we created those axioms to be objective doesn't mean that they actually are. Yeah, adversity can help us grow and become better. The survival instinct from the past isn't really outdated. Sure, outright irrational hatred, but the flip side is pathological altruism and can be just as dangerous. It's okay to trust your lizard brain to keep you safe. Yes, there are situations where it's okay to trust your lizard brain to keep you safe. Like, you're walking down a dark alley and you feel like someone's behind you, so you start to walk faster. That's okay. I think your lizard brain can be... It can be helpful in those kind of situations. Your lizard brain often controls a lot of your automatic, but But those kind of situations where we need it are getting fewer and far between. Oh god, are now we talking about the objectivity of math? Look, Matt, I can't help you when it comes to math objectivity. So, as for what are axioms? Axioms are a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evidently true. So the example is the axiom that supply equals demand. But ultimately, at the end of the day, just because we're the ones that are saying, oh, this is established or accepted. Just like, you know, before, like, in medieval times, we said it was objective that the sun revolved around us. Just because we had established it as an objective doesn't mean it's actually objective. I remember studies found that people, especially kids who believe in natural talent, tend to perform a lot worse in life. They don't work as hard to improve their skills because they assume they don't have the talent. Aw. I mean, I don't know that one, but that sounds sad. Math, not even once. Not even once. Math, not even once. No more. No more math. Ah, water. Oh, and I'm getting more. I've slurped it all up. Hold on, my body's gonna freak out. Okay. Slurp, slurp. I'm back. Oh, I remember being very into Randian objectivism. This is not me Googling Randian objectivism. I don't know what you're talking about. Interesting. Many people have had the audacity to call a lot of things objective. I mean, hey, the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. It basically means we hold these things to be objective. But it's a lot easier for us to understand and to reconcile and comprehend something that's objective than it is to be like with math. We're taught that math is objective, you know, as we're growing up. But how helpful is it to be, well, actually, once you get to the higher theoretical levels of math, it's actually not objective, but that's only in certain circumstances. Is that helpful? No. That's more likely to confuse the, you know, fucking third graders we're trying to teach multiplication to. They never mention slaves in the Declaration of Independence. Or blue is a color. We say that is an objective, right? But theoretically, blue is actually just a type of light wave. So colors are really only light waves, and light waves are really only atoms moving around. So I wouldn't, objectively, blue isn't a color, it is a light wave made of atoms. So objectively, it's not true, but it's not helpful to view it like that. So as humans, we call a lot of things that technically aren't objective because it's easier for us and other people to understand if we just say it is. Archtail, thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the rodeo. Nah, but yeah, some of them did. Some of them did, yes. Here's an issue with being gifted. If you're really smart, stop it. Have good intuition, good at problem solving. That can be a hindrance in the long term. You're not used to the idea of things being different. Yes. That is a very common thing. Is that, I mean, it happened to me all the way up until junior year in high school. I just got off by, being smart. I got through it by being smart. I didn't have to study. I didn't have to try. And then all of a sudden when it got hard, I didn't know what the fuck to do. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to apply myself. And people who often are more gifted are more likely to have issues with personal connections, are more likely to experience mental illness, things like that. But we've often romanticized that as just being part of a genius. Science alert. Blue is... Are those O's? Or are you saying oof? Or are you trying to do the color thingy? Oakward the boy, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the rodeo. Is that a Southern VTuber? It is indeed. Howdy, howdy. Zeros. Okay. I thought you were just saying blue is oof with O's. I mean, with zeros. Yeah, but what is a hex code, really? Other than a very specific point along a light wave. Same with studying. Never had to study hard in high school. ADHD spunk brain. But yeah. Wow, I feel like we've jumped around a bit. Slurp water. Study, ADHD. I mean, mood. That's how my ADHD. Procrastinate and cram. That's part of my... Look, man, please. I was just talking, trying to make things improve, that things are complicated. Things that we say colloquially or think are objective are not actually objective in reality. You know? Like, the sky is up. People will say that is objective, but, like, what is up? You know? So many things are constructs that we, in and of ourselves, made and just said, yeah, no, this is how it is, because I said so. Postmodernist horseshit. Eh? What is a suggestion you have to help stop bigotry amongst groups from small to nationwide? The best way, I mean, the way to fight prejudice and bigotry often depends on the type and the severity that you're dealing with. But I would say the hard and fast, best way to go about it is interaction. Groups are more likely to develop prejudice against each other the more these groups are separated. The less contact that they have without groups, the more easy it is to demonize them, to make them the other. Many studies have shown that the more interactions two groups have with each other, the more prejudice decreases. No, it doesn't get rid of it, but it definitely helps. So, I mean, kind of like what we said, just diversity, inclusion, cohabilitation, just having interactions with people of different races, ethnicities, genders, sexual identities, religious views, political views. The more you are able to... Where'd my music go again? The more you are able to ultimately demystify them. Because that's what othering someone is. We don't know what they're actually like. So we take this descriptive category of, gay, and we make it prescriptive. Descriptive, describing something, prescriptive, ascribing something. So we take the descriptive category of gay, being a man who likes a man, or, just homosexual or whatever, and turning into, someone who likes, like, fashion and drags and talks like this and is super effeminate and is super, like, slutty or whatever. So we take these descriptive categories that we know exist and prescribe values to them because we don't know what those values actually are. It goes back to the unknown. We don't know what you're actually like, so we're going to decide what you're like. We don't really understand you. When the settlers came to America, they, called the Native Americans, savages. Because they had a different way of life. They didn't bother to get to know what their kind of life was like and whether it was actually savage or not. They were just like, we see that you're living in tents and stuff, so we're gonna say that you're savage, okay? Great. Because it takes time and effort to bother to get to know something. Like we said, we take our first impression. Holy shit, these people are living in tents and they're hunting in the fields and they fucking don't have electricity? These must be savages. When it's like, oh no, we have a very intricate and complicated, social hierarchy and relationship with... No. Savages. Easier. Fit in box. I know Malaysia's housing policy makes it so that affordable apartment was racially mixed according to the ratio of the nation. That can be hard with the socioeconomic divide such bigotry precipitates. Yes. Ultimately, I would say the first way to address that is to address the socioeconomic divide, and naturally the cohabitation divide will fall in place. A lot of these divisions are along socioeconomic lines. So, maybe if minorities were able to get more well-paying jobs and make more money, there would be more of them in rich-ass white neighborhoods, But you could also take the Malaysia route. There are multiple ways to address this, and each one have their own merits, and each one's have their own drawbacks. Also, how it doesn't exist, race is made up. And is viewed very differently. Even just back in American history, Irish people, Italian people were viewed as a different race. Until then they became white enough to be white. That would also explain the regional partition divide. I never see you blue people here. Well, I never see you red people here. People that believe X are insane. All sensible people should believe Y. Stuff like that. Yep. How would you prescribe values to them? It's easy. You just say what you think that they believe. So, now whether or not those prescribed values become, like, socially dominant and accepted, but the idea of, okay, so, like, Latinos and Latinas, Hispanic people, a prescribed value to them is that they're lazy. When in reality, who are the people who are working all of the literal back-breaking jobs that no one fucking wants on the farms? That's them. They're some of the hardest workers out there. But because the white people said, nah, they have siestas, so they lazy, they became prescribed to be lazy. It's as simple as that. All that has to happen is the dominant group in power ascribes that value to them, and then it becomes seen as true. It becomes seen as a default or a natural, a given. Another prescribed value is that, well, the reason there's so many, black people in jail is because they commit disproportional amount of crime. That's a prescribed value. Statistically, they actually do not. Compared to their population, they commit a normal amount of crime. It is actually whites that commit a statistically anomalous amount of crime. But because we prescribe that value to them, that black people are thugs or black people are criminals, they get that value, even if it is not true. Face, stop. Tense. That was so 1,000 years ago for us. Yeah! Yeah. Then people move or retain. I feel the best way to the socioeconomic and like the social demographic integration have to go hand in hand. Kind of like what had to happen with the removal of the Jim Crow laws. So they have the money and the opportunity to go where that they want to, but you have some sort of like base laws in place where you're like, okay, but you can't just like kick them out, guys. When race is made up of people still judge others based on physical descriptors such as the color of their skin, the shape of their eyes, and the way they speak. Yeah, it's just viewing something as different. They sleep 8 hours a day. How dare they? How dare you take a, 15-minute break in the middle of your grueling 12-hour work shift? How dare you? That race is pseudo... Yeah, no, race is a construct. Race doesn't exist. And disproportionately harassed by cops. Why are they disproportionately harassed by cops? Because they have the prescriptive value that we assign to them that they're criminals. It all feeds into each other. And then them being more harassed by cops and being under closer observation of cops makes it seem like the crime they commit is disproportional because we're focused so much on them instead of, literally all of the white people committing crime everywhere. But we're so hyper-focused on policing black neighborhoods that of course we have crime when literally our entire police station is only watching that neighborhood. Most people's bodies go through a natural low, tired period after lunch. I find it better to take a nap and quickly recover than... Yeah, that's why siestas exist. It literally helps with being more productive. Yeah, I eat because I'm unhappy and I'm unhappy because I eat. It's all a cycle. That's the thing is that, prejudice, bias, racism, bigotry, it's self-perpetuating. That's why it's so hard to get rid of. Man, I am powering through my drinks. Oh, I scooped my couch. Another example of a prescribed idea is the older, boomers generation saying that workers today don't want to work anymore. Kids these days, they don't want to work anymore. They don't have a work ethic. They're just lazy and entitled. When really, all people want is to be paid a living wage. That's it. It's not that they don't want to work. They just want to be paid reasonably. But since that group has prescribed that value to the younger generation, that's how they view them. In the same way that we look at older people and we prescribe the value that they're stuck in their ways. Yeah, back in their day, boomers had a standard of living that kids today couldn't. My dad worked his way through college and law school. That is not physically fucking possible in this day and age. Not at all. And it doesn't help that, the minimum wage hasn't been raised since like 2009, despite interests keep rising and we're not increasing wages alongside it. Oh, but that's a whole different story. Hoo-wee. Yeah. Yep. It hurts because it's true, Indy. It hurts because it's true. Do y'all have any more, thoughts, questions, comments about the, prejudice stuff? Hasn't the standard of living expectation also gone up? That I don't know. Yes. Indy, don't say that! You can't attack me like that! You can't attack me like that. I feel personally attacked. Okay? Okay? Is it normal to have a home? To have one, yes, but not to own one. Cuckoo, thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate that. Minecraft too. Yeah, we can't forget the Minecraft. Spending some money toward a good cause. Well, thank you. Happy. Oh, if having is owning, then no. It's common to, like, lease a home. I wouldn't say, like, own one. Was house... Okay, I couldn't tell you was house property and own... I mean, I think so. Oh! Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it comes on a bit strong. I mean, I know back in, like, homesteading days, all you had to do was, like, prove that you lived on a land for, like, 6 months and you then owned it, according to the government. But also, historically, in the past, governments were, especially, like, in the US and Canada, were just fucking dishing out land, being like, you own land, you own land, you own land. to fill it up. I've never owned the place I lived, always renting. Same. It was the Oprah of land. But unfortunately, I don't know much about housing, property, ownership stuff. Oh, excuse me. Oh, damn, look at us. We've already been going for 2 hours. Nice, Indy. Nice. And, Cheyenne, I would say it depends on the environmental regulations. I think some are good, but why build more homes when no one can even... Who's gonna live in them? No one can afford them. You have the sense of a humor of a 14-year-old. Wow. Wow. We'll just go to speculators? The fuck is a speculator? Speculum? No, I think that's something different. I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not that. Well, the real issue is maybe if Wyoming wasn't so boring, more people would want to live there. I mean, we went to a national park and I drove by so many places that were just flat land, not farming land. But I was just like, coming from LA, I'm like, how have people not built on this yet? Because no one wants to live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. The real issue is there needs to be better Wi-Fi out there. I had like no service. I had no bars. It was horrifying. Sorry, I'm just kind of vibing right now to the music. But how are y'all doing? I know we've talked about some pretty serious stuff and some somewhat depressing stuff. Everyone holding up okay? This isn't a doomer stream, I promise. Working out? Nice. Get that blood pumping. Get those endorphins rushing. Just working. Nice, nice. Just want to make sure everyone's holding up all right. Things are looking up in the world, finally. I am so happy to hear that. Taking a break? Valid. I'm okay with what indie? Oh, that was a joke. For a second I didn't get it, and I'm like, your house burnt down? I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. You'll go lie down of a siesta? Sounds like a plan, Cuckoo. Senpai rubbed off on you. I hope you have a great rest of your day as well, Cuckoo. Well, I found out I don't like anime anymore. Bad projection. It's a shame too. Pray tell what you mean, Commodore. Unless that too was a pun and it's gone over my head. Soon everyone will be infected with the dad jokes. Ah, howdy, howdy, Sven. How you doing? Hope you're having a good Thursday. Oh my god. Okay. Are you indie? Are you really? Do you need to just get him out of your system? Where are you even getting these? It remains to be seen, but you think so? Who the hell just drove up? Really, you made those? I'm not very good at coming up with puns like that. Fluffy Maeve, thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the rodeo. Oh, you've heard of them? You're watching some old music on YouTube. Nice, nice. Welcome. I think you have to... Do I not have socials? Oh, I have exclamation mark Twitter. That's really the main thing. And exclamation mark Discord. Well, for one, most is centered around teenagers, and I see that as where things started to go to shit and the earliest opportunity for things to... Yeah, I have also noted, I mean, as I've gotten older, that, you know, I was like, what? This is about... All of this is about teenagers. Oh my god, this person is like 15 and battling like zombies to the death? That doesn't seem... How am I supposed to project myself onto a literal child? I didn't know what I was doing when I was 15. Let alone emotionally mature enough to fight off a zombie apocalypse. Really? Oh, thank you so much, Indy. That means a lot. I'm really glad you like them. You guys are too nice. I'm just doing what I'm doing. Just having fun talking and stuff with y'all. Question, is the internet improving communities or is it destroying them by making local communities less interdependent? I can't say I would know the answer to that off of the top of my head. But I would probably say that overall the internet has created more communities in general, as well as more diverse communities, because while local communities are important, they're obviously region based, and so if you don't have a lot of different types of people within your community, you don't have a chance to interact with other kind of people. More communities, but how deep are these communities? I don't know. I mean, I'd say it depended on the community. But really, how deep are local communities? I would say only a very specific type of people engage within local community activities, while the internet helps all types of people foster communities. Elon, I don't like what overdependence on the internet did to my interest. I'm not sure what you mean, Commodore. Anime community diversity since day one. And how can online communities foster more interaction between its members? I would say it depends again. That it depends on the type of community. Obviously, I would say, like, collaboration with, like, projects, attempts at, like, real-world event, like, get-togethers, holding events within your community helps to bring, community members together. Just the same kind of things you would do for a local community. Grindr killed gay bars. Thank you for the hydrate. Have I heard? Yeah, of course I've heard of Stonewall. At least the name. And I don't know, has Grindr really killed off gay bars? Or has it allowed more people to access each other without having to already be in the know? Because I know before it was okay to be gay and to be open, you kind of had to know someone to know that it was a gay bar, you know? You couldn't just Google, like, local gay bar, because Google didn't fucking exist. And you couldn't just ask people, hey, what's the nearest gay bar? Because they're like, are you gay? I will beat you to death. But now, people don't have to have already an inside contact. Anyone, anywhere, can find the people that they're looking for. Now, I don't know much about it, but that's just my surface assumption. You're gay? Sinner! Exactly. Like, things were so confusing. Like, I remember watching a documentary about, like, the Friends of Dorothy. Like, if you went to a bar and you asked, like, the bartender for a drink, and then if you were like, oh, are you a friend of Dorothy's? And if they respond like, yeah, then you knew that, like, they were, like, someone who was also gay, and they could take you to, like, a place that other gay people, like, hung out. And it was like an underground network kind of shit. And, like, me, growing up in the South, my whole dumbass would have never found any of that. Another thing is, like, senpai, I like my sci-fi, but I like it because my love for anime was interconnected from my love for electronics. A lot of technology was local and tangible, like it had a weight and a respectable size and satisfying tactile feedback. Interesting. But how do you deal with the problem of presence? In real life, you have a physical presence that interacts with the environment, while online it's more through text. That is the ultimate challenge of online. That it removes most of communication. You're only really getting 20% of human communication when you're typing via text. Because, like, 60%... No, not 60. Like, 50% is body language. Like, 30 or 40% is, like, tone of voice, and then the other are the words that you actually say. So that's why I suggested trying, if it is possible, to organize real-world events, or organize events where people can feel like they're participating. So, or, like, collaboration amongst members. I mean, obviously, you got, like, getting, like, a Discord server where you guys can, like, hang out and, like, share memes, potentially, like, doing voice calls or video chat with, like, people who are comfortable with that. My dad's gay friend is the definition of the muscular doge you used to get in fights with bigots and win. I never lived in, like, a super rural area, no. But I lived in a heavily religious area. Does texting actually affect... No, texting doesn't affect your interpersonal skills. It doesn't, like, somehow make you worse at talking in person. You harness your interpersonal skills of, like, talking way before you start, like, texting anyone. Hey! Howdy, Steph! Emoji help? Yes, emojis were created to help with the context. Overdependence on broadband internet killed the kind of devices I enjoyed using, and higher spec successors were never... You must be talking about some old tech, because I don't... Yeah, people try and also claim that there's a scientific census behind, like, video game violence leading to actual violence. But the scientific literature isn't actually there. I mean, to make a conclusive statement or decision, I would have to look into it more. But the main time where we are learning how to interact and communicate with other people, and how we develop our interpersonal skills, and how we learn how to act with other people, are through our formative years in childhood. And I don't know of any fucking 4-year-olds texting all their homies, and, you know, instead of, like, interacting with people. School is also an important place where you learn, interpersonal skills, and you shouldn't be texting in class. But the foundations of your interpersonal skills are much more founded within early childhood. Now, obviously, you can get rusty. Your skills can get a bit rusty, you know, when you haven't spoke to people in a while, it can take a bit of time to kind of get back to that level that you once were, but it's not like you have lost this skill and it will never come back now. But just like any kind of skill, it's like a muscle, you know? The more you use it, the stronger it gets. If you don't use it for a bit of time, you kind of have to, you know, ease back into it before you get to the place that you once were. Interpersonal and communicating and socializing is just the same exact thing. Your muscle doesn't just start to atrophy because you fucking are using some other muscles. Kind of stuff people would have bought. I can't even imagine what people would have bought if smartphones weren't invented. 4 years old these days are addicted to screens. There's no gym for interpersonal skills. Yeah, I think some old technology had satisfying tactile interactions with physical button. Ah, I get you, I get you. Think you're getting sick again? Oh no. And yeah, I know 4-year-olds use screens a lot, but they're not using it for texting. They're playing games or they're watching YouTube videos. That's not where they're getting their main form of socialization from. Developing interpersonal skills is hard if you don't have them by adulthood, though. Yes, it is. People would buy Legos. People can still buy Legos. People do still buy Legos. Senpai just got like a Lego set for one of his nephews recently. But yes, developing interpersonal skills once you are already adult is very difficult because people expect you to already have those skills. And often, you know, you're criticized or seen poorly or looked poorly on if you don't have those interpersonal skills already. However, as we understand things more and more, especially when it comes to things like being on the spectrum, more resources for adult-oriented kind like skill classes are available. And newsflash, you don't have to be on the spectrum to be able to take these classes. If a class is teaching you something useful, like how to overcome, you know, like stuttering in public. Only people who have a speech impediment aren't, people with a speech impediment aren't the only ones that can take that course. R2-D2 Lego set, nice. Yeah, it compounds the problem. Feels like, yeah, you should already know this by now. But I think it takes a lot more strength and a lot more courage to admit that you don't know something than it does to criticize someone for not knowing something. Just like money management. Some families from an early age, you know, teach kids how to manage money. And some families just don't. How is it that kid's fault whose family doesn't teach money management that he doesn't know that skill? And without social, people will either be put off by you or think you're being hostile. I don't know about hostile, but I would say that people would probably be more uncomfortable and feel more awkward around you. Exactly, Indy. It takes a more intelligent person and a more mature person to admit that they don't know something than to pretend that they know everything. I think I would get impatient. I would feel like the person lecturing is talking down. Well, there are plenty of books on how to socialize out there. Though I am interested in prying as why do you feel like they would be talking down to you? Because that seems like an assumption and a bias on your part. I imagine if this person is running this class, they're doing it to help people, not to patronize you. Yeah, books are good, but the learning is limited without it being in context. And in a physical setting, you can, you know, practice with the people who are taking courses with you. You can watch how it's supposed to be done. Yeah, I mean, we've all experienced being talked down to and patronized before for not knowing something. But we shouldn't let those experiences stop us from trying, you know? And it doesn't mean we should automatically assume everyone is talking down to us. Just because some people are assholes doesn't mean everyone is. If someone doesn't know something, you usually shouldn't hound them for it. Yeah? You've experienced classes like you mentioned years ago. How many years ago? I would like to think that these kind of skill-based classes have improved over the years as we've learned to understand their importance. $15. So I would say that's a pretty long time. I would, if you're comfortable, encourage you to maybe give it a shot again. And if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. You don't have to take another class again. But it doesn't hurt to try. Yeah, that could totally be a thing. It's always totally valid to also, like, check out the area before you officially sign up for a class. Oh, no, definitely, Seth. There's a lot of that comes involved with taking a class or seeking mental health if they need it. The internet, all you gotta do is Google it. And even when we do experience that shame, we have to learn to be able to overcome it. Because there is no shame in getting help. There's no shame in learning. Just because we've been programmed to feel that way doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's correct, and more often than not is harmful. But that's a big factor as to why people don't seek help. And so it's our job to help decrease that stigma of seeking help. of taking classes, of putting ourselves out there, of being vulnerable. You know? So I'm very curious, and I think that might be to a fault, like it hinders ambitions and stuff. Not sure what you mean. Curiosity, being curious about things is good. And it might ruin... What? Your curiosity would ruin relationships. I would say that curiosity fuels ambitions. And would help a relationship. You're curious about the other person. You want to know more about them. People like to feel that someone is interested in them in their life. Has the invention of the search engine made us a less social society? Now you can just Google it. I would say in some aspects, yes, but for overall, I would say it's a net positive. Because again, as similar to kind of the grinder thing, now anyone can access all of this information. Before, you had to communicate with someone that you knew had access to this information, and then they had to be willing to tell you, and then they had to make sure that they told it to you correctly, or they referred you to the right person, or the right book that you should get. You had to go through all of these steps to acquire this knowledge, and so only people who are truly, truly interested are going to go through all of that effort to acquire the knowledge. It makes it more difficult for people to casually learn these kind of things. And again, it's an accessibility thing. Only people who, you know, maybe you were interested in aviation, but like you didn't fucking know anyone who liked aviation. You didn't have a car, you know, so you couldn't drive to the local library. And even if you did, you didn't have like the money for a library card so you can check out a book, and you didn't really have time to read because you were working 2 jobs. I think it has provided a lot more access, and accessibility, I think, is incredibly, incredibly important when it comes to information. Information and knowledge should not be hidden away. It should be able to be easily accessed by everyone. Depends if your curiosity crosses a social boundary. Yes, obviously, I would say pay in mind to people's either the social or personal boundaries when it comes to that. Once curious becomes nosy, someone could... Yes, I mean, obviously there is a line. Ah! I have a strong impulse to look under the hood, and I worry that I don't get it until I know how everything works. Is it that fear of the unknown again? See what I did there? I wrapped it around again. I brought it back to what we were talking about earlier. Why do you feel like you have to know how everything works? There's nothing wrong with being curious about it. But if it's, I can't do this unless I know how it works. If it's an obsession, if it's something that you physically can't do it if you don't understand it, why is that there? I hate black boxes. I'm assuming... Wait, you're not talking about the black boxes like that are in like planes and stuff. But I imagine you mean like blank voids. Because the unknown is dangerous. And when it comes to people and relationships, it's not physically dangerous, but we view it as emotionally dangerous. Because being vulnerable is hard. Because in order to be vulnerable, you have to put yourself out there. And that means there's a chance that you can get hurt. and you don't have to answer in chat. I would just pose the question to you. Over your life, has this fear, has this need to know how everything works helped you or hurt you more? Is this fear, is this desire to know how everything works benefiting you in any way? Or is it more of a detriment to you? And if it is causing more harm than it is good, why are we holding on to it? Mystery boxes, things with hidden inner workings that's sold as a product. How can you trust a lack of transparency? I don't necessarily think there's a lack of transparency when you buy a fan, like a desk fan. You get the instructions of how everything works. So if you really need to know, you can read all of that. And, fucking be like, oh, okay, so that's how this does this, and that's how this does this. But that sounds more like less of an issue with a lack of transparency and an issue with trust. Yes, a computer isn't. But why do you need to know everything about how a computer works? To know someone? I don't think there is necessarily one. I was going more of the, okay. So there's nothing wrong with being interested in computers and wanting to know how they work. But, bringing it back to a relationship, what are you feeling like? Oof, ouch, Zeph. Ow, my knee! Fuck, that hurt. I'm okay. Oh, that's smart. Everything is fine. Nothing happened. Everything's fine. But yeah, it's fine to be curious about, I like computers, so I want to know how they work. But when you're... How does that, translate to other aspects of your life? The going to bed. Ooh. Nobody clipped. Is that, okay. Do you actually know this person? Or did you just, stumble upon this person's information? And also, I would say, yeah, some people like to keep their privacy online. Some people don't care. Some people are fine with having, their full name out there. I mean, if you think about it, your full name is on an official document registry anyways that anyone could go into, the Hall of Congress and find anyways. I would say if you don't actually know this person, that would be a bit weird. Because you're operating under the assumption that they don't want that information out there, that they don't know how to get rid of it if it is out there, and that they want to be notified it's out there. And while that's kind of you to want to advise that person on privacy practice, that's not your responsibility. I would say unless you know that this person doesn't want that information to be out online, or that it's potentially dangerous. Yeah, it could also come off as a threat, being like, hi, I know your full name. But if it's just a person's name, I mean, I would be more concerned if it was like, hey, I found this person's address. You know they don't want it out there. I would say that's a coin toss then. If you know for a fact that they don't want this information to be public, then I can see it going both ways. You could send them an email and like, hey, I know you don't want this information to be public, but I just wanted you to know that this is out there in case you wanted to get rid of it. Though then they may ask you, how did you find this? And, you know, as long as you're comfortable being like, oh, well, I was, you know, looking up stuff about you or whatever. Or I was Googling X subject and I saw this come up. But ultimately, that decision is up to you. You stumbled thinking you didn't find anything? But Dio also makes a point is, how easy was it to access? If you had to go like down through tunnel after tunnel, rabbit hole after rabbit hole to find this information, it might come off as a bit scary that you like dug that deep to find this information. It might make the person feel a little like paranoid. It was brain dead easy, then I would say then if you want to, go ahead and message them. If you know for a fact that they don't want this out there. Though I might not, go the full, like, advising route. I would start with just being like, hey, you know, I know that you saw this out, that you had this out there and that you didn't want. I just wanted to let you know so you were aware of it. And then, here is how you can go about getting rid of it if you don't want it out there. Yeah, you can message someone who knows them personally. They might be a lot more amicable to that. But at the same time, is it, like, does this person already know their their real name? Or is this like an online acquaintance? Because that's just one more person who's getting access to the thing that they know, that you know they don't want out there. Yeah, and how well do you know this other person? Are they trustworthy? If you were in that other person's shoes, is there maybe a reason why you wouldn't want them to have your full name? If they leaked this name, how much damage would it cause? Okay, so it's just their first name? Okay. If it's just their first name, then I would just casually send them a message. Be like, hey, I know you didn't want this information out there, but just letting you know that, this place says your first name. In case you want to get rid of it. I thought it was like their full legal name. Oh, you figured out the stern name. Okay. Well, then I would just say that, like, hey, I know you don't want this information out there, but, I saw this had your first name, and then I was able to find your surname from that. So you might want to, remove this information so other people don't stumble upon it too. Damn. Well, yeah, if it was that easy, there's no harm in just giving them a heads up. Yeah, no, that doesn't sound too creepy. But, even if, for some reason it goes weird, your intentions, you were just trying to help. And, that's what matters. Yeah. That's when things are... Ugh. But we have almost gone over an hour, because Therapy Thursdays are usually only 2-hour stream. So, I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up here. Thank y'all so much for coming. This was a great stream. We had a lot of amazing discussions. It was so great to have so many new followers join us. Welcome, welcome. Whew. I had a good time. I hope y'all did too. I love talking about this kind of stuff. I love just talking with y'all. Yeah, Seth, thank you so much for dropping by. I really appreciate it. I hope you rest well before work. Alrighty, let's us find someone to raid. Shush phone, shush. Ads. Ah, I see it's someone's 2-year anniversary. Why don't we head over there? No! Follower only. Oh well. Still, more eyes can be helpful. Sending over people to help celebrate their 2-year anniversary. Just in case, here is the raid call. And here is the raid call for those who are subbed. It does work. My bot's just not subbed to me. Thank y'all again so much for coming and hanging out with me. I had a wonderful time. And I love talking about these subjects. This VOD will be saved, as all of the Therapy Thursdays are. And you can see them up on my channel. Y'all can find me next time on Saturday, 11 a.m. MST. We'll be back at it with some Harvest Moon, as we do. Until then, I hope y'all have a great morning, night, evening, afternoon, whatever it is where y'all are. And I'll see you next time. Alrighty. We ride to war. Yeehaw!